friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a video that I haven't done in a hot minute, and that is my book of the week videos. Now if you guys are new to this channel, or maybe you need a little bit of a refresher course as to what this is the series I created pretty early on in my channel. I created it with the thought in mind of talking about books that I'm currently in the middle in. I typically save this for books that are standalones or books that are kind of like in between series, so like novellas, sequels, that kind of stuff, you know, just things that I wouldn't do a review on because it does involve quite a bit of spoilers. Like I said, this does this does involve spoilers because I'm talking about my thoughts as I'm currently in the middle of the book, not at the end or not my first impression at the beginning. So if you guys are interested in this book and don't want to hear potential spoilers, then you might want to click away. But if you are interested in hearing my thoughts as to what is going on thus far, let's keep going and let's get in the video. But the book that I am currently in the middle of and that I'm going to be talking about today is I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erika L. Sanchez. This is a buddy read with Andrea, and sadly, I may or may not have forgotten to tell her that I started the book, and she may or may not be 100 pages behind. I can neither deny nor confirm this truth. But this is a YA contemporary novel following young Julia, who is kind of trying to make sense of the world after her older sister, her seemingly perfect older sister Olga, dies in a car crash where she gets run over. As she's trying to make sense of the world now without her sister, while they were not close, it's still kind of a missing hole in her heart. As she's trying to make sense of the world, she's trying to also figure out what caused her sister to be so distracted as she was crossing the street, and try and figure out and see if her sister has a secret life outside of the family. Obvious trigger warnings for this. There is loss of a family member, loss of a, daughter, sister, cousin, friend, depression, grieving. I wrote all this down, but I thought I could remember it, and I'm not remembering all. One second, just grieving, controlling family member, and then underage drinking. And that is the only trigger warnings that I have seen thus far. I'm only on chapter 10, 126 pages in. About a quarter of the way through, so I can't give you like a full in-depth of like what else happens in this book. But if you guys have read the book in its entirety, please leave it in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to add it in the description for everyone who needs to know. But I'll also be adding trigger warnings when I'm done with the book and wrapping it up for the month. So my thoughts so far. I was pretty intrigued to see what the book was about, just because I had heard a lot of hype and a lot of kind of, I guess, like dust being kicked up around this book. It is a National Book Award finalist, so you can tell that it is going to have some merit to it. It's going to be a pretty good book. But I just never heard anything about it after people picked it up and hauled it or put it on their TBR. So I was like, okay, it's time to finally read this book and see exactly what the hype is about, or the lack thereof. It does still introduce some of that grieving process that is there. While you're reading, you feel like you're kind of a bit underwater, which I feel like is a better way to describe how you're feeling when you have lost a loved one, when you're trying to grieve in this process and see exactly what you need and what you should be getting from family members and what you aren't. So it does feel like you're underwater, so I feel like it is a little bit slow in that aspect, but so far I'm enjoying it. Once you do get past kind of like trying to get to know everything, you do start to see where the family starts to unravel when Olga is gone. You also start to see more of the characters and more of Julia's way of wanting to be a daughter and how she wants to live her life, and you kind of understand her a bit more. That being said, I think it's a very interesting take on grieving, just because I feel like we don't talk about it enough in brown communities. Grieving, I feel like, is something that's very glossed on for the sake of like keeping up with appearances, appearing strong, wanting to keep the family together. But in this one, we see grieving in a very raw way. Her mother clearly has depression, as Julia mentions in the book. She does see Olga as more of a best friend than an actual daughter. So the loss of her kind of disrupts their family, and Julia mentions a lot of times how her mother is not getting out of bed, she doesn't eat, and kind of that she's trying to fulfill things that she was unable to do with Olga through Julia, primarily with a quinceañera that she is planning, that she's forcing upon Julia, who is turning 16 and is not even near her birthday, nor is not even near 15 anymore. She's almost 16. It also points to the fact that there are always these very tough mother-daughter relationships within brown culture. Julia does not get very well along with her daughter. Her mother feels that Julia is a failure. She's not the perfect Mexican daughter. She's not exactly what her mother would prefer her daughters to be like. In fact, that was Olga, and with Olga gone, it's kind of hard for her mother to accept the fact that her daughter, her remaining daughter, her surviving daughter, is one that she is not close with at all. She is not very comfortable with and kind of views as this failure. And on top of that, her father himself is also very distant from the family. It's implied that he's distant in general before Olga's death, and it has only since been worsened since she passed away. However, that being said, like I said, I'm only a quarter of the way through, so my rating will most definitely change by the time we reach the end of this book, but as of right now, it's sitting very middle of the road, very 3 to 4 stars. It's great. I love the writing. I love the concept of dealing with grief and kind of expanding or exploring grief in this manner, especially with this mystery aspect that Julia is trying to solve regarding her sister's death, because her sister, when the driver who hit her said that she was not looking up, or the pedestrians around her said she was not looking up when she crossed the street, she was looking at her phone texting. And the more Julia digs into her sister's things and tries to figure out more about her sister, she's starting to see that her sister put up a facade to make the family happy. Like I said, it's still very middle of the road. There hasn't been a lot happening. I feel like this is a very character-driven kind of book, considering we are following someone who is grieving. There doesn't seem to be much of a plot right now, which is okay, but if this continues on, the highest rating I'm probably going to give it is a 4, because while it's compelling and emotional, the way that Julia's depression and grieving is written is very much underwater, and it's a very difficult thing to really conceptualize as a reader, especially when her trying to figure out who her sister was is done in very, like, how it is like she finds a piece of information. So far, this is what I'm seeing. She finds a piece of information about her sister, starts to explore it, and runs into situations where she's told, no, you can't do that, you don't know your sister, you can't find out. And as she's trying to find out, she runs into more roadblocks. And once those roadblocks are gone and she finds the information she's looking for, the information wasn't actually information, because no one is willing to give it to her, because they are also grieving the loss of a friend, a family member. So she is very much lost in this scenario, and she's trying her best, but right now the process of how this is going on is very repetitive, and I feel like there's most definitely going to be an explosion by the middle of this book, specifically between Julia and her mother. There's a lot of tension there. Lots of expectations on both ends that are not being received and not being properly communicated about. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm still very excited to get into this book, more into this book. I'm waiting. I'm probably going to read more of this tonight. I'm sorry, Andrew. Or I'm also, like, in the middle. I've just started Hood Feminist, because that came through my library loans. I'm not that far into it. I think I'm only a couple chapters, so I might read that as a buffer while I wait for Andrew to read more of this book. But that is it for this book of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It has been a hot minute since I've done any book of the week. If you guys have read this book and you know more trigger warnings, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to include them in the description for everyone who is wanting to peruse these books. I'll also probably do my own research and add trigger warnings myself. But until then, if you guys want to see more of my thoughts on this book, check in a couple weeks for my April wrap-up. But until next time, hit like, subscribe, comment, and if you want me to do more of these kinds of videos, please let me know in the comments down below so I can start figuring out which books I want to do for that next month. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys in my next video.